How's it going, YouTube Nation? I am Average Will. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, welcome. I need everyone to go ahead and put their comfy pants on, grab a snack, grab a drink, and settle in because this is going to be a lengthy video. We're going to be breaking down the submissions. I got my boxes back from the CBCS versus CGC video that I did back in the beginning of April. That'll be annotated at the top of the screen. So if you have not seen that yet, go ahead and run over there, watch that real quick, and then come back here. We'll wait for you. But yeah, so I'm gonna be unboxing my returns. I finally got my CGC books. I've had my CBCS ones for a while, but it's where I took 3 books and sent the same 3 books to each company, like 6 books, and sent the same 3 books to each company. It was the Peach Momoko Aliens #1 trade dress cover. It was the Teen Titans Academy A cover, and then also the Ultra Mega #1 A cover. So I sent those out. I wanted to do a square bound because I wanted to see if maybe we could snag a 9.9. But yeah, watch that video. I kind of go into depth of what the whole process is, but I'll touch base on that a little bit before we jump into these. So what are we going to be doing? Well, I'm going to be breaking down the cost to grade with each company, and yes, that has changed. Obviously, over the last few months, we've gotten some changes over at CGC. They've made their price increases and all that. CBCS is, for the most part, they've stayed the same. Then you have the turnaround times. Both companies have changed since me submitting these books, but I'll touch on what the current turnaround times are because that's only fair for people who are looking to submit now. And then we're gonna break down the holders. We're gonna look at the slabs. We're gonna break down one, check to make sure that there's no foreign objects inside there, because if you're new here, you haven't heard the horror stories. But if you're not and you've been around the YouTube collector community for a little bit, or if you're a collector yourself, you've heard the horror stories with CGC putting having stuff encapsulated inside their cases. So we'll look at that. We'll look at placement inside the cases as well, and then we'll look at the labels. We'll break down everything, and at the very end, I will give my honest opinion on what I feel and what I'm going to be doing in the future. Where am I going to be grading my books and all that fun stuff. So if you want to learn all that stuff, if you want to find all that info, settle in, like I said, because we're about to go on a show. All right, so in April, I did the video April 1st. So the first week of April, I submitted the books to both CGC and CBCS. Let's talk about the turnaround times first and foremost. Back then, you were looking at, if they landed with CGC, you were going to be looking at a 4-week wait period until they even marked them as received. And then if you fast tracked them, like I did with these, they usually got graded within a week to 2 weeks and sent back to you. CBCS, they with the rapid thing, with the rapid or the quick grading, it cuts their grading time in half. So we'll break down each one of those as we go through. But first, I want to see. Let's see what grades we got. Right. Let's jump into the grades and let's see where we stand. So first and foremost, let's get into the CGC ones again, and I will touch on these as well in regards to the turnaround times, the whole process as I go through here. So with CGC, like I talked about at the beginning here, is you send to them, they are based here in Florida in Sarasota. You send to them, they receive them, they do not mark them received right away. So unlike pretty much every other grading company, you send your stuff to them, they process them and mark them as received almost immediately. Whereas CGC, they land in CGC and they sit. At the time of sending these, we were at a damn near 4-week wait period before they even updated them in their system to mark them as received. So these, like I said, I sent these at the beginning of August, or April, sorry. We're in the beginning of August now. But I sent these in April and they were marked as received on May 13th. So just over that it's just over that 4-week period. So it was kind of still within that thing. I've heard now that they're still having issues, although I've seen people post I saw a couple posts on Instagram the other day that that showed that their stuff was getting turned around quicker. So that's a good sign. But it's also frustrating for people who have been waiting for months. I know that when I grade with CGC, I do the quick grade or the fast tracking, because especially if I want to get it in my collection, or if I'm trying to resell it. That's the thing. I want to obviously get it back to me as quick as possible, so that I can, sell it and get money to put back into my hobby, into my collecting. So, but all right. So the four books, sorry, the 3 books that we submitted to each company were the Peach Momoko Aliens #1 trade dress cover, the A cover for Teen Titans Academy, and the A cover for Ultra Mega. Like I said earlier in the video, I wanted to try a square bound book because I wanted to see. I've never had one personally where I've sent to be graded come back at a 9.9. So I was like, ooh, they're square bounds. I've heard good things about them. I've seen them come back 9.9s. So let's try it. So that's why that was the thought process behind the Ultra Mega. So we're gonna start with the CGC. I did not, as you guys just saw me open them, I just opened them myself. They put the slip inside here. I don't know what the grades are. I did not look at either CBCS or CGC. So we're gonna look at these together. We're gonna see what they are together. So here's first up. What do we got here? This is the Aliens #1. All right, this is the Momoko variant cover, and it should be. I did not get anything pressed. I had them pressed locally and then sent them. So here we go. All right, we got a 9.8 on this one. All right. I like this cover, so there we go. That's a 9.8. Try not to lose all these fans trying to blow all the plastic around. So here we go on the next one. I'm not sure which one this is. I think this might be Teen Titans Academy. Yep, Teen Titans Academy #1. Here we go. A 9.8. And again, these were all brand new off the shelf. We looked at them. My shop and I looked at everything, and we picked the ones that looked like they would be candidates to where I really wouldn't have to get anything touched up. So there's a 9.8 as well. And then now the square bound boy. Let's see. Did we land a 9.9? Let's see. Here we go. Ultra Mega. Oh, it's a 9.8, but still awesome. That's cool. I like the colors, and I'm really hoping the glare's not too bad, because if the glare's bad, that's gonna suck. But yeah, there you go. 9.8 of the Ultra Mega. So 3 9.8s, which is expected. Should be expected, right? With them being brand new, not being messed around, never opened, never touched in the plastic. So now we've got our box from CBCS. Let's see what we got from CBCS. Okay, so let's get into the CBCS. Now, what was funny with this is I submitted these the same day I submitted another order, and I got these back. And we'll talk, and I'll talk about the turnaround times here in a second. But I just wanted, let's go over the grades real quick. Try not to see these. Oh, that's right. I had these ones. I did have taped because these were received at the same. I've had these for a while, so these were received again same time. I got these back beginning of May. So we'll talk about turnaround times here in a second. But again, just tells you. So let me just get these all set here without looking down at the tops of them. But at least get these out because we do have them taped up. So. We'll do them in the same order. Set those over there. And they do have the nicer, I have these bags too. So. All right, first up, here we go. We've got the Peach Momoko Aliens cover. Let's see what we got here. What do we get? A 9.8, okay. Oh, it's funny, they don't say it on the back. But all right, a 9.8 for the Aliens #1. Peach Momoko. Go. We got Teen Titans Academy. Now this is the Red X cover and cameo. Oh, look at that. I'll have to look to see what if they put anything like that on the other one, because I did not put any notes on these. What did we get here? A 9.8. There we go. I know it's so exciting because I'm sitting here pulling 9.8s on these modern brand new books. So there we go, a 9.8 for the CBCS. Teen Titans Academy #1. And then here we go, the Ultra Mega. And we got, did I just ruin it? The suspense is ruined. But we got, what do we get? You guys tell me. Oh, we got a 9/8. There we go. So, we got a 9/8 on all 6 of them. We got 9/8s, which is good, which is nice. So, that's good. We got 9/8s. Now let's break these down. Let's get into the cost. Let's get into the turnaround times. And then let's break down the holders, right? All right, let's talk about the cost to grade the books. Let's start with CGC. Now, when I submitted these, it was cheaper because CGC has changed their pricing, but I will touch on that just to let you know what I paid versus what you're going to pay now. I think that's only right to let people know, hey, this is what their current fees are, so that when you hear me talk about, hey, this is what I paid, you're not thinking, oh, hey, I'm going to go get a book graded. Oh, that son of a gun, Average Will lied. It's actually this much. So when I submitted these in April, the cost to get graded through CGC was $18 per book. And then it was $12 to fast track. So to get one book graded fast track, just the grading process, $30. That does not include CGC's shipping, their handling fees, which I think is like $5. It doesn't include the cost for them to ship it back. I'm not going to try to factor all those because shipping fees are different. I'm here in Florida. I'm only an hour and a half away from them. My shipping may not be the same as someone who's across the country. So I'm not going to include that into these. I'm just going to tell you what it is to have it actually graded through Fast Track. For me, it was only $30 per book for CGC. Now, though, that has changed. To do a modern book right now is $22. That is just your grading cost. If you want to do Fast Track, tack on another $15. So I paid $30. Now, if I wanted to submit these same books in the same process, I'd be paying $37. So that's a $7 increase. I don't know. I don't think their handling fees have really increased, and their shipping fees have not increased. It's the same thing to send because you're either sending through FedEx, UPS, or USPS if you pick. So that's how much it is with CGC to grade. Now let's look at CBCS. What does it cost to grade through CBCS? Now, I do not have a membership with CBCS. I did not pay, I think it's like $100 to get a membership. I probably will eventually in the future because if I'm going to be submitting books to companies, if I can get a discount, I'm probably going to pay a membership fee because you can get a discount if you have a membership fee. I did not. The cost for me to have these graded, they were $18 a piece. And then it was an additional $10 to do the fast track. So to get the same books graded through CBCS, it cost me only $28 versus CGC was $30. CBCS is still, if you want to fast track something with a modern book, is still only $28. And I know that because I just submitted a book, but I just submitted some orders. But yeah, so for the same process, it's going to not charge me any more money, whereas CGC has. So there you see. Back when I submitted these in April, it was $30 CGC, $28 for CBCS. If I were to submit these same books today, CGC would be $37, CBCS is still $28. So went from a $2 to a $9 difference, and when you're looking at that, if you're submitting multiple books, you're getting over $100. If you're almost at $100, it would be over $100 with all the taxes and the handling fees and all that fun stuff if you're submitting, like, say, 10 books. So you got to look at that with the cost effectiveness if you're looking at how much to grade them, right? So we've got the cost of grading. Now let's talk about turnaround times. All right, let's cover the elephant in the room for CGC. Let's talk about turnaround times because, man, that is a hot topic for folks who are submitting books to get graded, either as a collector, a reseller, or whatever. Turnaround times have been killer. They have been a big thorn in the side, and it is one of the biggest frustrations for people when dealing with CGC. I almost want to start with CBCS first because theirs hasn't really gotten crazy. But we're going to start with CGC first. All right, so both these orders were received through my UPS or USPS, through the post office, marked as received on April 2nd. My video posted April 1st, but I had sent these out before I had made the video live. These were received through my pirate shipping, showed that they were both delivered on April 2nd. My CGC order was not marked in the system until May 13th. That's over a month after they were shown as received through the post office. So that's something where you have people who get frustrated. Why do they get frustrated? Because there's nothing showing that their stuff, their tracking number shows that it was received in the system or received, but it doesn't show in the system on the dashboard that CGC has acknowledged that they've received the books. So when you are someone who may be sending, these are all brand new low-end model. There's no huge value with these books. But if you're sending books that are worth hundreds of dollars in, and there's nothing changed in the system, that is a very nerve-wracking, that could be a very nerve-wracking feeling, be like, oh my God, it's been 6 weeks and there's been no movement, nothing showing in the system that has been received. Will CGC correct that? Only time will tell. They are hiring people. They're trying to get a system put into place that is going to help that. But I think that if they can change it to be, again, follow, your competitors are killing them in that aspect. When something gets received through another company, they're marking it as received within a day or two. To make people wait 4 to 6 weeks just to have it show up in the system as received, if not longer than that, that's a tough pill to swallow for people. If they could change it up to where they had people in receiving that could come in and they're entering orders so that boom, they're flagging up and they're showing up in the system to show, hey, received, even within a week to 2 weeks, that would be a huge leap forward for CGC. But I digress, right? So these were marked as received on May 13th. Now I did the fast track. So fast track should be a quicker turnaround time, right? It should be something that tells me, hey, these are going to be in here and you're going to get them within, usually it was, they showed up in the system after 4 weeks of me waiting, showed up as received, and then within, I would say probably 5 to 7 business days, they were over into grading and marked as shipped and getting back to me within 10 business days. I had my books back after they got marked in the system. That has changed. It even changed with this order because, like I said, they were marked received on May 13th. They were shipped July 2nd. Or July 1st, they were shipped. So I got them back on July 2nd. So almost 2 months. I mean, that's a month and a half. That's a month and a half for me to wait for them to grade. And I'm paying extra now. I'm paying that additional fee to have them graded faster. And that's how quickly we're getting them in. I don't know. I know the current turnaround times right now are astronomical. I know, like, if you do just a regular current turnaround time, they have marked at 108 days. You can go on the website for CGC and it'll tell you, hey, we're now opening boxes from May. I think that's the current time. Yeah. Now opening comic book submissions delivered the week of May 31st. So that's how far back they're behind 2 months on opening orders. That's a problem. Now, yes, granted, a lot of people are submitting things. They were trying to hit that deadline before they changed the fee rates and all that fun stuff, but it's tough for collectors to have to wait that long for something that they're wanting to get back. Now, granted, you don't get charged by CGC until they actually grade your stuff, versus other companies, which we'll talk about, grade you, charge you right away. So it's not like you've paid for the service yet and you're waiting. You don't get charged until they do the service, and then they'll hit you with the credit card acknowledgement that, hey, it's over in grading, we're processing it for grading, or we're processing it for pressing and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so the current standard turnaround is 108 days. If you fast track right now with these, if I were to submit these, the same orders, I would get my books back. They say fast track 97 days. Now that is business days, I believe. Working days, yeah, they have it even marked on here, working days. So business days, not calendar days. So that's huge. 97 days is a long time when it's working days. So that's where a lot of people have griped about their turnaround times, and then why people are getting mad when they're seeing the private signings, because I don't care what you say. You can say, oh, well, at conventions they do the same thing. Yes, they do, but people are submitting so many more books for these artists and these writers. When they're doing these private signings, people are sending bundles of books, regardless of cost. I know, like what was the Gail Gadot, her fee was astronomical, but people were still submitting books. They're still submitting books to these signings. So that is also backlogging it, because what's happening is those are now taking precedent to be processed. Those are getting, you special mark those on your box. When they get received, boom, they're getting pulled first, while regular, even fast track orders are kind of falling by the wayside. So there's a lot of weight that gets carried with people having grievances towards the turnaround time. So it's not just people getting mad for no reason. It is a frustrating process. So now that we got CGC out of the way on their turnaround times, let's talk about CBCS. Now, when I submitted these to CBCS, their standard turnaround time for modern was 10 weeks. Well, if you do the fast tracking through them, it tells you it will cut that grading time in half. Well, what's half of 10? 5. Well, guess what? I actually got these. I submitted these April 2nd. Let's see. These were processed and back to me. I know there's a date on here. Oh, did I just show you guys? No, that's my P.O. box. These were received April 28th. April 28th, I had these back. So that's not 5 weeks. That was only 3 weeks. So again, even though they say, hey, our turnaround time's 10 weeks, you fast track it, that'll cut that time in half, which would be 5 weeks, basic math. But then I end up getting these, 26 days later. So 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. So I got it I got it faster than what their announced turnaround times were. Now, with the issues that are stemming with the whole CGC, there's a lot of variables with it. The whole, the buyout by Blackstone and all that fun stuff, the fee changes, the issues with grading and all that. CBCS is now starting to see an influx of books sent their way. So they actually have changed their turnaround times from 10 weeks to 17 weeks. And again, they say, hey, fast track, that's going to cut your time in half. I'm curious to see, because I have some orders sent to them. So if you stick around the channel, you'll see me do some unboxings of some of this stuff. But I want to see if it is 8 or 9 weeks, or do I get them back sooner, right? But yeah, their turnaround time was fantastic. Again, when you send your stuff to CBCS, they receive it, and within 2 days, I have not had it go more than 2 days with any of my orders to CBCS. Within 2 days, they're charging my card, and they have it moved from billing, and then they have it into processing. So it now goes from billing into the grading process, and again, it took only a few weeks for these to be graded and sent back. Now you have to be careful if you want to be surprised, if you want to do blind reveals. After it gets moved over to grading, don't look at your website. Don't click on your orders, because if you click on your orders, it shows you what the grade is. So don't do that, because I found that out with my first order, the one before this, that it was actually the the Maniac in New York and Recount books that I sent in. That those two books I got marked, and I saw the grades. I'm like, oh, I can't look then, because it's going to show me the grade. But yeah, so very easy to cover the turnaround times with CBCS, because yes, they have increased. They've almost doubled their time, but still, again, they're still getting stuff back in time. And we're going to see as their order capacity starts going up, or load starts going up, and they start getting more and more books to grade, are they going to see a bigger gap shown in their grading turnarounds? We'll see. I think, again, it's only time's going to tell in that aspect. We're going to see time's going to tell on CGC, with them bringing in new employees, bringing in people to try to help process and help speed up the processing. Will that benefit them? Time will tell. CBCS, the influx of stuff that they're going to be getting sent? Are they going to properly manage it? Are they going to be proactive and start bringing people in? I heard they were already starting the hiring process to bring people in, so only time will tell how they're going to handle the situation. I think this year, by the end of the year, we're going to have a little bit clearer, we're going to have a tighter, I think, in my opinion, and again, I'll talk more at the end of the video, but it's really how is CGC going to handle this whole situation, and then how does CBCS handle their influx, right? So that was the turnaround times. Let's get into what the cases look. All right, so here is the final part that we're going to cover in this before I give my conclusion, and that is the holders, the slabs themselves. We're going to start with CGC like I have in each part, and there have been some issues of stuff being encapsulated inside the books. If your books, people getting books back that were scratched, dog-eared whenever they were getting put inside the holder that gets inside of the encapsulation. So we're going to take a look at all three of these. I'm not going to take a ton of time to look through these. I kind of already looked them over off camera just so that I'm not dragging this video out any longer than it is. But looking at this, starting with Ultra Mega, everything looks good. Again, there's nothing encapsulated in them. It is, and here's the thing, they're a little loose, and I don't mind that they're a little loose because I think the problem they were having was when they were pressing them so close, that's what was causing the Newton rings. Now, none of these have an issue with the Newton rings. Just my grubby fingers touching the cases, my oily fingers, but yeah, I know people have talked about they've gotten the cases cracked, damaged. These are all in good shape. And again, nothing on the back of this book. And I like I said, I've already looked these over, but I'm not trying to shake it too hard. But yeah, not really loose. There's a little bit, but again, I think that's the compromise they have to make, because I think that was what was causing some of the Newton rings. The issues was the books were pressed too tight in there, and that was causing those little issues. I'm no professional though, so take what I say with a very big grain of salt. And always, and I will say this, always make sure you do your own homework and your own research, and don't just take the advice from somebody who's sitting on here making YouTube, but always make sure you do your own due diligence, look at the turnarounds, and make your own. It's what you're comfortable with doing, right? So all of these are good, in good position. Thankfully, no foreign objects inside of CGC. So let's talk about these cases here for a second, and why I think so many people love these cases and labels. The biggest thing, and I think this is the only thing I think that really keeps them, in my opinion, so far away from everyone else, is how much recognizable this is. This here being the white background to the number, and people say, "Oh, it really pops," is when you see this white square. I think I like the positioning with a lot, how the positioning is. And again, I'm not going to try to sit here and nitpick different stuff. I just think the layout for the label is on point for CGC. I think that is the one thing I feel that they do have, that right now is their, as sad as it may seem, that's their difference. That may really, as someone who is very, what is the word I'm looking for that curb appeal, or the aesthetic, is they want something that looks nice and clean and organized, and you do get that with the CGC labels. You got, again, you get the white background with the bold letters for the thing, and then everything's centered in here. And then you get the artist and everything, the writers, and then if there's any notes, which again, we're going to talk about that in a second whenever I compare to a couple of the books. But, and it's nice, and their little label, even this is pretty nice. Their little sticker here for the CGC. So that, other than that, they're not very thick. I can't complain about the cases with these ones because there's no issues. Again, the books are a little loose inside, but again, you're not sitting here. And listen, if anyone's sitting here, bursting blood vessels, raging about books being a little loose inside the cases, what are you doing with these cases? Are you sitting here running around with? No, you're displaying them. This is what you're doing. You're displaying them, or you either are displaying them, or you're keeping them in a box. Which, if you're keeping them in a box, you should be locked up because you're a criminal. Why are you even slabbing the things then? No, I'm kidding. But no, you're displaying them. So it's not like you're not going to notice if any of these are loose. If they're a little loose, no, you're not. Now you'll notice if they're off-centered, if they're not, properly encapsulated. But if they're sitting here a little loose, calm down, it's okay. So that's my thoughts on the holders for CGC. I like them. I think it's a nice design. They are not bulky at all. And again, I can't complain because I haven't ever had a personal experience with a damaged case. I've bought some books from people. I've gotten some stuff through mystery boxes that have had the Newton rings, but I've never had any of my submissions come back. So, but yeah, so I haven't had any personal experience on me submitting stuff and coming back wrong in the holder. So I'm just going based off of what I've received, off of my personal experience, and that's where I like these holders. I like the layout of the label for CGC. Now let's get over to CBCS, and I'm going to grab my Teen Titans Academy because we're going to compare some. First and foremost, I want to talk about this real quick because we've got these two. Both are thick. Now, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to tell. I'm going to try to do this without being too ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you can tell. Now, they're about the same thickness, but with the square-bound books, the square-bound cases, this one is definitely a meatier case. And again, we're gonna break into these here in a second, but this is definitely a meatier case when it comes to the square bounds versus this is not. It is a thicker case because it's thicker than a standard book. This is a little bit of a hoss, but anyhow, let's get into the CBCS cases in general. First thing is, let's do this. There's no movement. No, there's no movement. These are nice. And again, it is the different design of the cases to where if these get set, and again, I may be completely off base when it comes to the Newton rings. If I am, let me know down in the comments below. Again, I don't take offense to anything. If I'm misquoting something, if I'm missing something here, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm always looking to gain knowledge. I just kind of wanted to put something like this together for folks who may be thinking about submitting, and I just kind of wanted to walk through the process of the cost, the process of getting them graded and all that fun stuff. So these are definitely a nice case, but I want to talk in this one. The cases are the cases. I think that there's really not a huge, again, as long as they display well, it shouldn't really matter. The cases are the cases. I think they're pretty close in design. They're closer than EGS with each other. This has a little bit bigger of a reveal here than this. This is a smaller edge than what CGC has on it. But really what I want to talk with these is, I got to talk about the label. I will say this. This is, like I said with the CGC, that's the one leg up CGC has, personally, in my opinion. Because when you look at this versus you look at this, what stands out? That 9.8 for CGC. It pops with that white, whereas this is just the black. And again, it wouldn't, there's no copyright. There's no copyright on the design. So throw on a white background and clean this up, because you got this, but then you have everything over here where it says it's, it gives you the publisher and all that fun stuff, and gives you the cover artist, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of wonky. It's over to the side instead of being cleaner, cleaner like this, where you have the title in the middle, you have the barcode. Again, granted, there is no barcode for, the barcode's in the back for CGC or CBCS. And then again, it's just nice. You got bold and you got the DC and the published date and all that fun stuff. And again, and then you have all the artists and everything over here, whereas with CBCS, they put everything over here. Is it a little bit nitpicking? It is, to a point, but it just doesn't display, in my opinion, the same. Does it take away from it fully? Does it make it look like trash? No. But when you have them set, next to a CBC or CGC book, the labels pop a little bit more for the CGC. It just, again, my personal opinion, That's all this is. This is my personal opinion. But it doesn't take away the fact that this is a 9.8. This is still a nice case. But I don't like how you don't pop. And then again, I like their symbol here, their logo for their company. That's not a problem. But what I think is crazy is I didn't put any notes on any of these. I just put in, I did put the variant for like the Peach Momoko for the Alien. But on this Teen Titans Academy for CBCS, which is pretty nice, they put on here Red X cover and cameo, and then Clock King cameo. So they put a couple cameos on here that I didn't list. So all in all, these I'm not gonna sit here and make you guys sit here watch me. I did look at these before we jumped into this segment. Both sets of books. There's no issues in the encapsulation on either one of them. So unfortunately, we didn't have that. I was kind of like, man, it'd be interesting to be able to break down the books, break down these cases if something was encapsulated, because it would show you guys. But there's plenty of you guys, use that Google machine or the YouTube search. There's plenty of people that have issues. No issues, because sometimes what will happen, and not with CBCS, but with CGC, like when they're putting books in, like it would dog ear the back here, or there'd be scratches and stuff like that on the back of the covers. I didn't have any of those issues. So all in all, for the cases, that's what we got for the cases, the labels, and all that fun stuff. Now let's jump into the conclusion. Whew, thank you. If you've made it to this point of the video, holy shit, thank you for hanging out. But no, in all seriousness, yeah, I did this for the fact that I love comics. I've become, over this last year and a half, when I jumped in April of 2020, and I really started getting my pull box set, and I really started looking at store exclusives, and I started falling in love with different artists and different writers, and falling in love with stories and stuff like that. I fell in love with the idea of being able to display, like I have behind me, some of my favorite covers, getting some books, and then really starting to chase down those grails, like I have with my Thor books in the middle. Being able to get the first Jane Foster as Thor, even if it's not in continuity, it's still the first appearance. I don't care what anyone says, right? And then first Beta Ray Bill, one of my favorite characters that just doesn't get enough love. Can't wait to see him in the MCU. Please, hopefully one day. And then, first appearance of him. My ultimate grail is obviously, Journey into Mystery 83. One day, whenever I hit the lottery, and, I might take out a second mortgage on my home and buy that book. But yeah, I just love the idea of being able to encapsulate and keep the books, the covers that I really love. Dead Presidents, I love that movie. So when I saw Recount had a cover coming out through Izzy Comics, I said, oh, done. And then I got it. I'm like, oh my God, this cover's beautiful. Let's encapsulate it. So the idea to be able to take your favorite characters or your favorite artist covers and get them done, or get like a custom cover done that you have by a artist of the community, you have them do a cover and you get it encapsulated. That way nothing happens to it. It's in that case for good. So I think that's where it's really awesome. But the point for this is I wanted to lay out for the top two companies when it comes to grading comics. You have CGC, who is the top contender right now, and then you have CBCS, who is that clear-cut number two. They and they have their new motto. God, how many times over their new motto is the clear choice. Breaking these down, looking at, you guys can form your own opinion. You guys can look at it and be like, all right, well, if I want to grade with these companies, here's the cost for CGC, here's the cost for CBCS, here's the turnaround times for each company, and then you got to see what their cases look like, what their logos look like, and what the labels look like. I think you got to factor in all of that. Now, again, I want you to be your own judge. You take your own from this, you do your own research, and you feel with what you feel comfortable with and with who you want to grade with. That's what. Don't let anyone sit here and tell you have to grade with a certain company. If you like EGS, if you like PGX, grade with them. Don't have somebody dictate to you who you have to grade for. If you want to keep stuff like this, it shouldn't matter. If it's going in your collection, Shouldn't matter if you have some brand new company come out that starts grading them, as long as they're going to take care of you and they're going to do a good service for you. Grade with them. If you feel comfortable using them, use them. But in conclusion with this, breaking everything down, when you look at everything, I think obviously cost and turnaround is clearly CBCS, right? CBCS in this time, in this increase of the collectors community, right? We've seen an influx in people collecting now. All this new money. I'm one of those people that's sinking new money into collecting. They haven't changed their pricing for basic modern. I'm not talking about the elevated stuff. And then you see where CGC, which has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, they're charging more money now. They've taken out some fast pressing, or they've taken out, I think, the quick press or something like that. They've reconfigured things to be more in their favor versus the collector, right? So when it comes to cost, you got CBCS is the winner there. Turnaround time, hands down, CBCS. And that's why I say only time will tell to see how CGC is going to handle it and how CBCS will handle their influx. Because personally, for me, I am currently not submitting anything to CGC. I want to see how everything plays out with Blackstone taking them over and all these hires. I'm going to probably let this rest of this year ride out with whatever I have submitted to them. I'll get back and that's it. I'm not sending anything new. I haven't sent anything new in since May. And I'm probably not, like I said, I'm not going to send anything in until probably next year, when we hopefully see some changes, start seeing that grading process come back, because I do like to collect, I do like to sell as well, and I do understand that in the secondary market and reselling, CGC carries a bigger value, right? For now, is that gap closing? It is. Is it closing fast enough? I think on the modern stuff, yes. On the bigger keys, the older keys, like first appearances and stuff like that, not at this time. Not yet. And there's plenty of examples that show there is a big gap, and there are some outliers as well that show that, hey, that gap's not that far. I do believe CGC or CBCS is closing the gap, though. I 100% feel that way, because people are fed up. People are just getting tired of CGC. Plus, it's also coming down to the seller. If the seller says, no, I'm selling my CBCS whatever book, First Miles, Ultimate Fallout 4, I'm going to sell that at the same price of CGC, because they're both 9/8. They're both graded, and some would say the CBCS is graded tougher than what CGC is. So it's like kind of like that thing of it's going to come down to how the market handles it, how the sellers handle it. Are the sellers going to concede on that price difference, or are the sellers going to say, you know what, no, enough is enough. This book is a 9/8 and arguably a tougher graded 9/8 than what CGC is. So no, my book is still, say, $3,000, whereas the CGC book is $3,000. These books are both the same price. And I think that ultimately is what's going to have to happen, is sellers are going to have to stop conceding the name, right? They're going to have to stop conceding the CBCS name to CGC for value, right? Because I know for me, I'm submitting all my stuff right now to CBCS. I was one of those ones that said, no, I want to have everything line up. I've got a couple Something's Killing the Children orders at CGC. I've got a couple already on my wall of Something's Killing the Children CGC, and I'm like, I want all my Something's Killing the Children stuff to be CGC. But then I'm like, I'm a collector, man. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. So I submitted, I have three orders now. You guys actually helped me in some of the slabber stashed, pick 15 books to send, and I have another 20 books as well that are there at CGC or CBCS getting graded. Now, the order of 20, I did not do a fast track. The other 15 I did, so we can open those here on the live stream. But yeah, I think all in all, when it comes to that, I think CBCS is winning that. Now, when you get into the holder, the cases themselves, it's what your preference is. What do you feel? What do you like more? They're not that far different when it comes to the cases. They're really not. Yes, CGC kind of has a little bit of play with their book, whereas it seems like the CBCS is tight. Nothing's moving around there. But again, who the hell's shaking them? Why are you shaking them? They're supposed to be on your wall. They're supposed to be up for display, right? either up for display or in a box, because it's not like these things can just sit out, right? So when it comes to the cases, I think it's pretty even there. Looking at the labels, this is the only, and I said this whenever we were talking about the labels and the cases, this is the only place I feel CGC actually stands out, is their label. For me, it is a preference to see that you got that white background with that black grade popping out. It pops for me. Preferably. Oh my words! For me, it pops out more. I mean, it just looks better and it has that pop, but it doesn't take away from what the actual, grading of the book is. And I think if CBCS can just alter their label a little bit up, line some things up, make it look nice, kind of keep things like spread out a little bit. The fact that they have the details of the book, like what it is, like kind of like half over here. Don't, put it over here. What's gonna hurt? You're close to the label, sure, but kind of spacing and getting the layout cleaned up a little bit, I think would help them out huge. And yes, I think putting a white label behind, the white background behind your grade would make a huge difference. Because again, we are very simple creatures, humans are. We like the nice things, the shiny things. And I think that's one thing, when you look at that white background and you see that 9/8 pop off of there, it just looks a lot better than the blue with the black, with the grade on the blue, right? I think if they throw in that white, be like, ooh, look at that. That looks nice. And then everything else is just a snowball effect, right? So I think that's the label is the only thing that has CGC ahead of CBCS. And with that, my final verdict is, when it comes down to it, preference for me is gonna be CBCS. I like CGC, I like what I have had good experiences with them, but I have to take a step back and let them kind of clear out house first and kind of figure their house out and get their stuff sorted and get their stuff in line, because it is nerve-wracking. I've got some stuff I want to send to them, but I can't have it sitting in their warehouse for 6 weeks before it gets touched, right? So I've got a box full of stuff that is on hold that I would like to see in a CGC case, that now I'm contemplating saying, you know what, there is no difference, right? There is really no big difference, and the value's there. If I decide I want to sell the book, I'm gonna hold to it, be like, hey, this is still a 9/8 or a 9/6, whatever the grade is gonna come out. This is how much it's gonna be. And I think that will be how the market changes itself, is the seller saying, no, my book is worth this, right? So that's I'm gonna probably, if CGC can kind of clean up house and they can kind of get their self in order on their turnaround times, and if they can fix that problem at the beginning, because I think that's what happens, is in the beginning, when you go from, hey, my books arrived on April 2nd but didn't get opened up until May 13th, that's 6 weeks, folks. That's 6 weeks. That's a long time. Versus April 2nd here, everything was processed and I had it back by April 28th. And at that time, I had these books back from CBCS before I even had it showing in the system that CGC marked them as received. So I'm gonna right now be using CBCS, as my primary grading service until CGC gets their stuff sorted out. That's just me. Again, that's just my personal preference right now. Please make your own decisions. Thank you guys for hanging out. I don't even know how long this video is gonna be. I was afraid, like when I started sitting down putting it together, I'm like, oh man, this thing's gonna be like an hour long and I'm gonna have to try to edit it down and all that fun stuff, and it's gonna be a nightmare. But anyhow, we made it, right? So thank you guys so much for hanging out. If you watch this entire video, man, you get a big thumbs up, and thank you. Thank you so much. Speaking of thumbs up, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. The fact that you guys have watched any part of this video, it means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much. Definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Who do you use for grading? Do you use CGC, CBCS, PGX, EGS? Are you starting up your own grading service? Let me know down in the comments below. I like the engagement. I like to hear your guys' thoughts. And tell me if I'm off base on something. Let me know. I want to be educated too. I don't want to, if I'm not putting out totally 100% accurate information, if I'm off on some things, let me know in the comments below. I need a drink after this. So tell somebody you love them. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm Average Will. Till next time, I'm out.